Hello beautiful people and welcome to the channel A Life After Narc. My name's Debbie and I talk about all things to do with narcissistic, abusive and toxic relationships, as well as looking at healing from them. And today's video I'm going to talk about some of the reasons you stay in the narcissistic relationship. Now those of us who have been in a narcissistic relationship will know how hard it can be to leave. And there are many reasons why, and I'm going to get to those a little later. And I was in that place for various reasons. Eventually, though, he left me, which saved me from leaving him, leaving all of my belongings behind and living in my tents. Although, to be fair, I wouldn't mind living in my tents because I do like camping. But I also like my comfort. If you enjoy the video, please click the like button. Please subscribe to the channel and share with your friends and family. I'd love to know what you think, what your thoughts are. Please comment in the comment section below. Have you gone through this? Did you have difficulty leaving your narcissistic ex? So after my ex left, I was asked, why did you stay? And it's a question that many of us are asked, and it can be incredibly hurtful for various reasons. The question is upsetting to the victim because they are not aware of why they stayed. They loved this person. They weren't aware that this person was abusive. Even though they were, they didn't acknowledge it. They ignored it. They loved this person to the point of, I'm not going to leave them because they can change, because that narcissist will apologise profusely after an incident's happened, say they won't do it again, and it's okay for a couple of weeks, and then it all happens again. It's also upsetting as the victim feels that they are to blame. It was my fault. I was the one that stayed in that relationship. I should have left. You know, why did I stay? I don't understand why I stayed. I know it was abusive, but I stayed. And then that person, that friend or family member, is actually enabling the narcissist. They don't know that they are. They're not aware of that. Because it's a normal thing that we would say. If you haven't been in an abusive relationship, if you've not experienced it, then you think, well, why did that person stay? They deserve so much better than that. But by asking them that, it enables that narcissist. It makes the narcissist look like the victim and the person who went through the abuse as the perpetrator. They may well say, but they seem so nice. I never saw that in them. They were always nice to me. Or, I would not or don't believe you. Oh, I can't believe that. That doesn't make any sense. Look at what they did for so-and-so or for so-and-so. Look at how they helped. You're making this up. It's not real. It's all in your head. You never said anything before. You're crazy. You're crazy if you think this. And these are some of the things that are said to those who've been in an abusive relationship, not to belittle the victim, but because this person who is saying it doesn't understand the behaviour, doesn't understand the psychology behind the reason you stayed. So some of the reasons that you may stay in an abusive relationship is they promised it wouldn't happen again and they apologised. How many times did they do that? Every time they apologise and they say it won't happen again, but it does. And every time it gets a little bit worse, a little bit more violent, a little bit more hurtful, a little bit more scary. You had no money or anywhere to go. And I was in that situation. I was in a situation where my ex had actually isolated me. I wasn't working. I was very ill physically and emotionally. I had no money or anywhere else to go. And there were my cats, and I would not leave my cats because they're my babies. Children. Perhaps you have children with your narcissistic ex, and that can make it really difficult because you want to stay for the children's sake. I'm just going to say one thing here. Wouldn't it be better if the children were exposed to love rather than hate and anger and pain? But again, it's your choice. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just here to let you know that this is what relationships with a narcissist can be like. You believe in the sanctity of marriage. I did. I was handfasted in a pagan way. It's a pagan wedding. And I said my vows in front of the goddess and God. And that is my belief. And I believed that this was real, that this was true. That to me, it was sacred. You still believe they will change. In your heart, you are hoping beyond hope that they will change their behavior because they've said it so many times. I'm sorry, I won't do it again. And this is part of the trauma bond that's keeping you there. I've discussed the trauma bond in many videos. I'm going to put a link to a couple of the trauma bond videos in the description box below so you can have a look at those. Fear. Fear of the unknown. What's going to happen to you if you leave? Where are you going to go? What are you going to do? How are you going to survive? For many of us who have been physically abused, we may have the luxury of contacting a refuge for women or a women's aid group and be able to move there. But some of us don't have that luxury. So there's this fear perhaps of living on the street or living in a tent, that you've got no job, that you can't support yourself, that you can't support your children. Perhaps you have a fear that you'll never see your children again. Perhaps the narcissist has threatened you about taking the children away from you because, remember, you're crazy. That's crazy making by the narcissist. You're not actually crazy. The narcissist has made you crazy. Depression or other mental health issues, even physical health issues, can prevent you from leaving. I mean, if you are waiting for an operation, if you are bedridden, if you're in therapy for your mental, emotional state, it may prevent you from leaving. It comes back to fear. And as I said before, fear of the unknown can make us freeze in place. That we just sit there and everything's tight and we can't move. It's the overwhelm. And we need to release that and let it go. A mortgage or financial arrangements or other assets that you may have together. How will you resolve that? Where will you live? Again, it comes back to these fundamental questions. Where will you live? How will you live? What furniture will you take? Can you just kick them out? Where does that fine line live? Where is it drawn? Embarrassment. Now, this is a strange one, but I've often felt embarrassed in the past for my ex and his behavior. There was one time when he was absolutely, completely, totally wasted and made an absolute fool of himself in front of my friends. And I was embarrassed. I hardly saw those friends after that because I was so embarrassed of his behavior and the way he acted. And he was not abusive to my friends, but dismissive of them. He just didn't like them. You still love them. The biggest reason of all. But you need to know that this is not real love. It is the trauma bond. It is that love bombing, devaluation, love bombing, devaluation, and it goes on. This is a repetitive cycle that creates hormones within the body that are released when the love bombing happens. So every time the devaluation occurs, you're waiting for that boost of the love bombing to start again. And you still think you love them. And you may well. You may well love them. But do you love yourself enough to take care of yourself? And that's who you need to put first, is you. These are just a few reasons why you may stay in the relationship. And I'd love to know some of the reasons that you stayed in your relationship. So pop them in the comments below. And I hope this has given you a little bit more clarity into the reasons that you may stay. Let go of the guilt, because it's not your guilt. You don't have to feel guilty. You were in the right. They were wrong. They were the abuser. You were the victim. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please click the like button. Please subscribe to the channel and share with your friends and family. I hope to see you next time. Blessed be.